Welcome back to the Her Fertility podcast. I am honored to be joined today by Jennifer Redmond. Jennifer has been in the fertility space for more than 17 years. She's a certified integrative nutrition health coach and hormone health expert. And Jennifer's magic comes in her ability to take a 360-degree view of your fertility. And what I love most about her approach is she then helps you implement a customized dietary and lifestyle change plan to boost your fertility. Jennifer is a former fertility patient herself, and she has now dedicated her life to supporting others through her work. And she's written and edited thousands of articles on women's reproductive health, and she is just a gem. I am so deeply honored to have her on the podcast, and I cannot wait to share her magic with you in this episode. So welcome, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Jess, thank you so much for having me. It's my honor to be here.
I've been looking forward to this recording, and this podcast is really a bridge for women who are on their fertility journey. We mix science and soul here because we're whole self beings and we need both. And I really believe your work embodies that so well. So tell me more about how you support people and what that magic is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I support women both in my one-on-one and group coaching programs. My one-on-one program is called Empowered Fertility. And in that program, I would say 95% of my clients come to me for the nutrition piece. But because we are whole beings, right? And because our fertility doesn't exist in a silo, our reproductive organs are, of course, important, our fallopian tubes and our ovaries and our uterus, but we're a whole body system. And so your nutrition can impact your fertility. And I'm a believer in a concept called integrative nutrition that says that while the food on your plate is 100% important, the other things in your life that nourish you are also important. So that's things like spirituality and time in nature and exercise and movement and relationships and work-life harmony. While the majority of my clients initially come to me to work on their nutrition and to really support their bodies and their reproduction with nutrition, we pretty quickly, depending on the person, will get into one or many of these other areas, including, really importantly, stress management.
Yeah. I'm so glad you opened that door because I totally wanted to walk through it with you. I was so struck by the word integrative in your title. And I was like, I have an understanding of what that is, but I wanted to hear it from your own words. So that's a lot more deep than I was thinking. I was thinking more of like, how do we integrate, food into our life? But it is
Right.
so much deeper.
Yeah, so it absolutely is how to integrate nourishing foods, fertility supporting foods into our life, right? A lot of my clients will work on meal planning and meal prep because that's really the foundation of getting started, right?
Yeah.
So we do work on really integrating it into your lives. But yeah, that other piece, if you think about what are the other things in your life that nourish you and what role do they play? And that can be just really, I don't use this phrase lightly, but it can really be life-changing when we approach it that way.
I completely agree. And I'm so I'm ready to go here with it because it is, it's one thing. I liken it to if your nervous system is, all in fight and flight and you're stressed and you're very much living in that high performance woman zone. It takes one to know one. That used to be me. It doesn't matter what you're putting in your body or what you're eating. You're not going to absorb those nutrients or, let them do their magic because your body is so restricted. Is that the approach you take, or am I missing it completely?
No, that's absolutely part of it. It's
Okay.
so funny you say that, Jess, because I was talking to a client this morning and she was doing fertility treatment as a lot of my clients are. And we were talking about the nutrition piece. And I said, you can eat all the organic kale in the world, but if you're not addressing the stress management piece, whether I'm freaking out because I feel like I'm not eating the right way, or because just the stress of the cycle, all the organic kale in the world it's like you said, it's not going to get metabolized properly. It's just not going to support us when all the other things are not being nourished and supported.
Yeah. So when you work with someone, is it more, I guess, is the bigger problem not knowing what to eat? I'm just trying to think like people have such a wide range of understanding of nutrition,
Mhm.
and then there's a lot of misinformation about nutrition.
100%. 100%. Yeah. So, really, where I start with my clients is so if you were to work with me, you would fill out a pretty extensive health history form that we would review on our first call. And one of the things that's on that form, believe it or not, is like, what are the foods you ate when you were a kid for breakfast, lunch, dinner,
Yeah.
and snacks? And what are the foods you eat now? Because there are different, people have different preferences in how they eat, right? They might be vegan or vegetarian or
Yeah.
paleo or pescatarian, or they might eat everything, you know? But really taking a look at how the food you're eating does and doesn't support you. So really, I think when clients come to work with me, they are looking for help on, like, am I eating the right way? Even though
Mhm.
there's no one way to eat that's right for everybody, but are they eating the right way? Maybe they feel like they know they've got too much sugar in their diet, or maybe they're struggling with digestive issues like bloating or constipation. Maybe they're like, oh, I know I feel like I have some inflammation. I would love to reduce that because I know that that's going to be supportive. So it might be for any number of those reasons. And then, yeah, it's, I sort of meet you where you're at, right?
Yeah.
So we think about the food on your plate and how it's making you feel. So for some of my clients, they'll record what they're eating in a food, mood, and poop journal. So what are you eating?
Cool.
How's it making you feel? And then are you eliminating every day and getting rid of toxins? And is your body digesting food properly?
Yeah.
So it can be for that reason, like they just sort of want to make sure they're eating, again, quote unquote, the right way. But then it also might be, as I'm sure you experience with your clients, right? When you're on a fertility journey, you feel like so much is out of your control,
Yeah.
right? And, we talk about like women doing all the things, right? I think so many of us are used to like, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to set my mind to it, and I'm going to get the result I expected to get,
Totally.
And then a fertility journey throws a wrench in that. And so a lot of it too is like, what are the things, my doctor's giving me a protocol. I've got to take these meds. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I've got this appointment. I've got that appointment. It's upended my work schedule. I want to be able to control the things that I can control.
Mhm.
So for my clients, that's nutrition and then these lifestyle changes, again, that are different for everybody.
Yeah.
And then also the stress management piece.
I so love the customization that you do because it is, everybody's body is different. Like you mentioned, their history is different, what brought them to this point, what's feeding their subconscious mind, like all of that. And what I thought of when you were talking about that was how I I'm a deep people pleaser, and especially in my relationship. So what it has looked like historically for me in any relationship I'm in, like romantic relationship, is I will eat whatever he wants to eat.
Mhm.
And it still happens where like I have, I love to cook, and so I enjoy that, but I will cook what my husband likes to eat rather than what my body is saying works for me. And I go through these like ins and outs because my body's very loud when I eat things I don't like. I get, the constipation, the bloating, and it's talking, like saying, this is not for you. However, in order to please, I will stick with whatever it is that my husband prefers to eat. And so if somebody's listening to this and you're like, no, I got the nutrition piece down, but you can relate to something like that where you're just eating things because you think you're supposed to, but your body's not agreeing with it. Or like for me, it's like my husband really likes meat and my body doesn't love meat.
Mhm.
And yet I find myself cooking meat all the time. And so there's these little nuanced ways where somebody like Jennifer can come in and really help you customize what that is for you. Like you said, like not everything works for everyone.
Right, right. So a perfect example of that, and I love that you're sharing that because that's so real, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's so real, but really the so much of the work that I do, whether it's nutrition or stress management or lifestyle changes, is really checking in with yourself, like even with the how, what am I eating and how does it make me feel, right? Like even just taking a beat and figuring that out. I ate brown rice for years. I think when I was in seventh grade, my family became vegetarian, and and
I love that.
um, we joined a food co-op, and we got brown rice and whole wheat spaghetti, and like did all the things. And I thought that I've never had a flat stomach. I never had a flat stomach. I thought that was just my body shape. Cool, that's just the way I'm built.
Yeah.
And then when I started really looking at food and how it made me feel, I realized that brown rice makes me really bloated. And here I
Mm,
thought I was doing my body a good thing because that's what we're told. Brown rice is better for you. Well, guess what? It's not better for me.
yeah.
So that's why the individuality thing is so important because if we can just take a minute and think, huh, does gluten agree with me? Does dairy agree with me? How does, that morning mug of coffee, which for so many of us is like almost like a ritual, right? Like we just love that morning mug of coffee. How is that really making me feel though?
Yeah.
So
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's such a beautiful example. And I feel like we are searching for answers, right? On this journey, you're like, what am I missing? What's the one thing I'm missing? Why am I not getting pregnant? And then food becomes kind of like there are many people out there that will tell you what you're missing with food, right? And there's a lot of marketing around that. So you think like, oh, I need to be doing the brown rice, but when it doesn't land in your body, but we're not told that part of it where you need to listen to the body, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So fascinating. So tell me more about the stress management piece and how stress really plays in.
Yeah. Um, And so I should say that when I work with women one-on-one, my program is a 12-week program. So that's why I said like often, well, majority of my clients, we start with the nutrition piece, but then we have time to approach these other things. And usually stress management is pretty important, right? I think just as women in life, we carry a lot of stressors. So we're entering, a fertility journey with some stressors already. And then we already talked about how disruptive it is to your routine, your day-to-day routine, your week-to-week
Oh
routine.
yeah.
There have been studies that have shown that the levels of anxiety and depression, and you probably know this, Jess, are equivalent to for women with infertility, the rates of anxiety and depression are equivalent to the rates of anxiety and depression in women with severe chronic illnesses, including like HIV and cancer.
Yes.
So I say that not to scare women, but to like normalize. Like if you're having a hard time, it makes sense. It really makes sense.
Hmm.
So just like bioindividuality and nutrition, there's not one stress management tool that is right for everybody. But really, what we want to do is we want to get out of that like fight or flight and get into rest and digest because your body literally can't be in fight or flight and reproductive mode at the same time,
Yeah.
right? So the stress management piece becomes really important to sort of build in something that you can use almost as an anchor. So again, I think about how is food showing up in your body? How is your stress showing up in your body? Where do you feel it? When you're stressed out or anxious, what are the symptoms that you're feeling? What does it look like for you? And then let's talk about what are some options that might bring you out of that and back into the present. So again, not everybody likes to meditate, not everybody likes to journal. I think one of the things that most of my clients, it's sort of I don't want to say easy, but it's a practice that really resonates with them, with a lot of people, is a gratitude practice.
Yeah.
And you really, again, you can't be in gratitude and in fight and flight at the same time, right? So it's a really nice, and so gratitude can be anything like my gratitude practice every night at dinner, my husband and I each say like two or three things we're grateful for from the day,
That's
right? It
so
could be a
cool. Yeah.
gratitude journal. It could be um, just, thinking to yourself. You don't have to say it out loud, just before you go to bed. These are the three things that I'm grateful for in my day. Is my magic rock here? I have a magic rock. Um,
You have a magic rock. That's so cool.
I have a magic rock, and my rock is it's from a book on gratitude practices called The Magic. Are you familiar with that book?
No.
So it's a book called The Magic. It was written by the woman who wrote The Secret.
Okay.
And it's 28 days of gratitude practices. And
Cool.
so you can every day it gives you a new gratitude practice to kind of try on for size. And one of them was to get a rock. And this one I found on the beach, and it fits nicely in the palm of my hand. And you can keep it on your nightstand. And before you go to bed, you pick up your magic rock and you think about the three biggest things you're grateful for in your day. And sometimes when I say biggest, it's tiny. Like, we're going to have 65-degree weather here today. Like, for me, I'm beyond grateful for that. That's going to be on my list today.
That's
Take
awesome.
your little magic rock. You think about the three things that you're most grateful for. And then you think about the one that you're most grateful for. And you say thankful to your magic rock. Thank you to your magic rock. And you put it down. That's a gratitude practice.
I love that so much because energetically, the rock will hold that gratitude
Right.
energy and then it will build and build and build. That's really
Yeah.
neat. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, just like the food piece is going to be individual to you, the stress management piece is going to be individual to you, but I can't stress enough the importance of it and what a game changer it is when you're on a fertility journey, when you're trying to make decisions, when you're trying to manage appointments, when you're trying to figure out, what are the questions you're going to ask your RE because you've had a failed cycle or a loss. So important to sort of build a little toolbox of practices that are going to support you.
Yeah. And it wasn't until you said it, but I never really thought about, like, I work with the nervous system, but when you said rest and digest, I've never really pulled out the digest part. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, it even is called that.
Right.
Like, it is about being able to rest and actually digest your food. And what a beautiful way, like you said, to have that empowerment piece where you do have control over something. And I get the sense that this is something for you that has kind of like built on itself. Where did you start? Like, did you start with the integrative part, or did your journey bring you here in a different path?
When I graduated from college, I didn't say I was going to be an integrative nutrition coach supporting women with infertility. Um, I actually studied journalism and English, and I was a writer for a number of years. And then through a series of events, my husband and I were on a fertility journey. I had unexplained infertility. For your community who's listening, I just want to say it is just such a hard thing to deal with, that word unexplained, because you just want answers. It was so frustrating for me. And we did 6 cycles of treatment. I got pregnant my first cycle and miscarried at 11 weeks and never
Wow.
had another pregnancy. And we didn't do 6 cycles back to back. I had canceled cycles. I had cycles that I needed to take a break. Obviously, when I had my miscarriage, I needed to take some time to regroup, both physically and emotionally.
Yeah.
I think that's such an important thing. I felt like at the clinic that I was at, it was like, oh, your cycle failed. We'll start again as soon as you get your period. And I was like, wait, what? You know,
I need a
advocating
minute.
for yourself is so important. Thinking
Yeah.
about what you need is so important.
Yeah.
6 cycles, decided to take a break and see what that was going to look like for us. And that fertility clinic fired me, said that I wasn't a candidate for further treatment.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, yeah,
It's wild to me that
yeah,
that happens a lot.
yeah. And when I say fired me, it wasn't like, and I say fired deliberately because it wasn't like it was an easy letdown. It was just like,
Yeah.
no, you're not for
Hmm.
us. We're not for you.
Yeah.
So, and at that time I was in sort of more traditional publishing, my last sort of quote unquote traditional publishing jobs at Inc. magazine. And I was looking for a new job, and the National Infertility Association, Resolve, was looking for somebody to edit and publish their quarterly magazine. And we were at a crossroads, not sure what we were going to do next. And I do humbly say that I felt like if I applied for the job, I was going to get it because I had a fertility journey, I had a publishing background and a writing background. And so it was supposed to be a 3-month gig. And I thought I could do anything for 3 months, not knowing like if it was going to be hard, triggering, depressing.
Yeah.
Fast forward, the person who I was temporarily replacing was on maternity leave and did not come back. And I ended up becoming their national director of communications. And it was difficult at times, as I was sort of navigating what was next in my journey. But I was also surrounded by people and information that was like so empowering, and I learned a lot. And my husband and I, we had therapy, we had support groups, I learned things. A lot of the things that I work with my clients on, the nutrition piece, the lifestyle changes, I did all those things. This is very oversimplifying it, but I had an aha moment and I realized that we were still a family. If we didn't have children, we were just a family of two. And that
Yeah.
was really a pivot for us. And so we talked about that and we tried that on for size. And we ultimately decided to not have children. And my career in the fertility space continued. I became the co-founder and editor-in-chief of a company called Fertility Authority, where our goal was to be like the WebMD of all things fertility and infertility. And the company merged, and the company is now Progeny, which is a benefits company, which has a very different business model, right?
Yeah.
So when I left, I felt like I had taken the editorial as far as I could, and it was just time for me to move on. And so when I thought about it, I thought I was going to be pivoting my writing career because in those years of, like you said, writing and editing thousands of articles, I felt there's so much focus on illness and not enough focus on wellness as it
Hmm.
pertains. And I know wellness right now, has means a lot of things to a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
But there wasn't enough focus on wellness. And, our bodies are amazing. And given half the chance, they can do amazing things. And after interviewing and reading and writing all this information, I knew there was a lot about nutrition and lifestyle management. And so that's why I studied integrative nutrition. I thought I was going to pivot my writing career. And then I realized that I could just have a greater impact and give back more if I really worked with women one-on-one and in group coaching. So that's what I do. That's a long answer to how I got to where I am.
I'm so glad you went there, Jennifer. I knew about your story. I didn't know all of that. And we have guests here on the Her Fertility podcast. And what I think every story, there's a point where you find your own authentic part of you through it. It's like this journey is this alchemy that brings you into who you were meant to really
Mhm.
be and do and serve in this beautiful world. And like, I really felt that through your story. And it's a choice to go there and do work that betters the world. And it's such a testament to you and who you are at your core. And I've always felt that energy from you, like that really grounded, knowledgeable energy, but your story really embodies that. So thank you for sharing
Mm.
it. It's really
Thank you
beautiful.
so much. And one thing I'll say about my story, I used to like get anxious when I would tell people they didn't have children because people will often like they'll get like a sad face and they'll be like, "Oh, mm." So, and people have literally said to me, "Oh, so that's why you do the work you do, so people won't end up like you."
What?
Yes, people have
What is
said that to
wrong
me.
with people? We have so much work to do.
And I'm like, no, it's because you can have the
Yeah,
tools to thrive in whatever your outcome is, whatever you
yeah.
choose your outcome to be. Like, I'm a testament to you can thrive.
Mhm.
Like, you can live an amazing, beautiful, full life. You can
Absolutely.
learn the tools to thrive and survive through your fertility journey.
Yeah.
That's what I'm about. Not
Yeah.
like don't end up like me because
Well, I'm so glad you said that. And I fully agree with you. And I think that we have just defined mother and this energy around mother in such a tiny way that that means like you must bear your children. But it's so far from the truth. It's like the energy of mothering is also in supporting people and in bringing into the world beautiful things and good work. And
yeah,
it is, we are all part of this whole, all contributing to this whole. And
right.
it doesn't have to be this one tiny pathway. And I'm so glad you highlighted that. And so for anybody who's listening and your path is similar, right? Or not, like there are multiple versions of what this can look like. There's a full
Yeah,
spectrum.
yeah.
And I did you watch any of the Artemis moon crew in space?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Of
we're just
course.
coming off like I have so moon joy. But I felt the same thing about the astronauts and specifically the female astronaut because she has chosen to dedicate her life to astronomy and being in space and it's amazing and she's getting a lot of criticism online about that choice. And yet I feel that complete opposite of like she's contributing so much to the world in the way of space exploration and all of this. And I am personally benefiting from her choice to do that. And so I feel like it's very in the same vein.
Yeah, and also showing people like there are infinite possibilities, right?
Yes.
Like she's going to give girls, young
Yeah.
women, like the realization, like, oh my gosh, like I don't mean this as a pun, but like literally the sky's the limit, right? Like there's nothing we can't do.
Yeah. It's a great
Yeah.
pun. You should roll with
Okay.
it. No, I think, we limit so much and it's just quite the opposite, like just opening it up and opening ourselves up to, like you said, like have a beautiful, fulfilling life, doing work that really matters. And it doesn't have to end in this one path, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
beautiful. I'm sure you'll get more people that will say that to you. And I'm sorry about that.
Okay. I finally figured out how to respond to it though. So that's the good thing. It didn't
What do
just
you
like shut
say?
down, you know. I say what I said to you, it's like, no, I have a great life, What like why are you judging my life?
That even sparks a whole other thought in my mind of like the amount of judgment people get. And it comes down to what people are eating, like bringing this back to that. Like, I remember my mom she would send me so many things on like, you should eat this, you should eat that, you shouldn't eat this, you shouldn't eat that when I was trying to get pregnant. And I was like, this is not helpful, actually. Like, I know that you are intending for this to be helpful. It's not landing very well.
Mhm.
Um, and also what she was sending was just so broad and
Right.
it was like I so needed you. I needed somebody to be able to look at me and my body and say
Right.
you are bloated, you are constipated, you are not having a bowel movement every day and you're stressed and all the things, so that's why no matter what you eat it's not going in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And honestly, for people who are like, oh gosh, you have Jennifer, an integrative nutrition coach on, and you're not even like getting to specifics. One thing I will say, again, bio individuality, 100%, but the Mediterranean style of eating modified for you is really the best model
Yeah.
for eating when you're trying to conceive.
Yeah.
So for people who are looking for like some specific, thoughts around it, that's a great place to start. But again, there are grains that might not work for you. There are beans and legumes that might not work for you. That maybe dairy doesn't work for you. So it really has to be individualized for you.
Yeah. What do you like bringing it down to that? Like let's give some real applicable things.
Mhm.
What do you think most women miss?
A couple things. So I think I've been drinking from my water. I think staying hydrated is
Yeah.
super important. And I think we're busy and we're on the go. And so I think hydration is really supportive. And when I think about hydration, I think not only about water, but I think about those foods that I call like juicy foods. So it might be like broths or soups, right? Because they have a high water content. But then things like melon, like watermelon or cucumbers or celery or citrus fruits that have like a high water content. So I think staying hydrated is a really important thing. If you think of the makeup of our cells, all the water in our bodies, right?
Yeah.
We want to stay hydrated. And then I think even myself, I think of myself as like a healthy eater, but every once in a while, I'll sit down with my food, mood, and poop journal and I'll be like, let's really look at a few days because maybe sugar's sneaking in,
Mm.
or maybe I've just been really busy. Maybe I haven't been eating enough or just been thoughtful enough about my meal planning and prep. So I would say, take a look at sugar. You know, the average American eats more than 100 pounds of processed sugar a year. So I
I
know.
didn't know that statistic.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So processed sugar, because it's inflammatory,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And with fertility, just like health overall, we really want to think about reducing inflammation. So take a look at sugar and then really take a look at how many servings of vegetables you're getting a day.
mm, yeah,
Really important because I think most of us aren't getting just, we're not thinking sort of in terms of like that plate where you're going to have like a piece of protein and maybe some whole grains, and like half of that plate should be like vegetables.
yeah,
So, yeah. And I think if we, again, like I said, I'll occasionally like do a food, mood, and poop journal for a few days. Just sort of ask yourself, nutrition wise, like pretty much intuitively you're going to know, like, yeah, I probably have too much sugar. Yeah, I could add a few more leafy greens, whatever
yeah.
it is.
So this food, mood, and poop journal, like such a good idea. How do you do it?
So it's as simple as it sounds. I always say to my clients, fill it in the way that's easiest for you. If it's jotting it down in a notebook, if it's using an app, if it's I give my clients a form that they can fill in either on their phone or, on their computer. Just sort of do it in for all of this. Like just let's simplify it as best we can.
Yeah,
What I ate, so breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks and desserts if you eat dessert, what I ate. And then after you eat, how did it make me feel? Did it make me feel bloated? Did I feel crampy? Did I feel really satisfied? Did I feel energized? Did I feel sleepy? Like, how did it make you feel? And then, are you pooping every day? And if there's anything that's sort of not normal for you and your poop, like diarrhea, constipation, um, I love to track how many ounces of water you're drinking a day, because it's super important. And then for women who are trying to conceive, to really, if you can just jot down what cycle day you're on, you'll start to notice patterns. So I always say perfection's never the goal, right? We're
yeah,
human beings. We're not built to be perfect. And this is, when you're writing down the foods that you're eating, no judgment. This is just about gathering information, just gathering information. So I can say, I'm noticing that this food is supporting me and this food isn't supporting me. I'm noticing that I'm probably getting more sugar than I should. What's one thing I can do to just get a little less every day?
yeah,
I notice that I'm eating a lot more meat than I know is good for my body. Can I do a meatless Monday? And then how does that make me feel? So it's about gathering information, not bringing in that like critical little voice in our head, because diet culture for women is a really, really tricky, pervasive thing. And I
yeah,
will say, if you've had a history of disordered eating or a food, mood, and poop journal, it somehow feels like icky or not for you, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't set yourself up for those triggers.
yeah. I'm so glad you said that because as women, especially women trying to conceive, like we are largely undernourished and we need
Yeah.
to eat.
Yeah.
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 And
I've
so,
definitely had clients who just are like not eating enough.
yeah, everything you do change and work on now through nutrition will serve you through a healthy pregnancy into
Yeah.
motherhood, which is a whole
Yeah.
other, ball
Yeah.
game, but you'll have the foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then it can influence your family's health
Mhm.
down the road. Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I'm glad you said that.
This is so special, Jennifer. I could talk to you all week about this. And so, what I love about Jennifer's approach is she does spend a whole 45 minutes with you for free when you first meet with her. It is a full free session. She'll go through all of your history and navigate that with you before you start working with her. It's such a gift. How can people find you?
Yeah, my website is jenredmond.com, Jen with two N's, Redmond. And just go to the contact page. You can find me on Instagram at Jen Redmond, INHC. And like you said, I offer this free 45-minute fertility support session because I say this at the beginning of every call, like we're going to gather information and we're going to talk about your unique situation. And if we feel like we're a good fit to work together, great. I'd love to tell you what that would look like. But if not, like, let's just find you the resources you need. Like, that is so important to me because, as we've been saying, like, every body is different, everybody's journey is different, right? And so to just help somebody find the support that they need is just so important to me. So, yeah, but you can find me on my website, find me on Instagram. I have a podcast called Cycles and Seasons. So,
Yes.
yeah.
The Cycle and Seasons podcast is fantastic if you're looking for more to listen to. And all of Jennifer's content is top notch coming from an editor. It is
Thank
so
you.
wonderful. And so
Thank you.
please, all of it will be linked in the show notes below. Jennifer, thank you so much for taking the time to connect. I'm so grateful.
Thanks. I am too, Jess. I really love this conversation and I love spending time with you.